and welcome back to Blue Flag Bandits, the series that drives F1's worst cars so you don't have to, from 2010 to the present day, whenever that may be. And we're in the penultimate round of 2013, driving for Marussia in the MR02, and you join us off the back of an Abu Dhabi that ended so very badly. There's no denying how that went. Had fought our way into 9th off the start, had been driving pretty well, slipped back a couple of places every pit stop, found ourselves fighting for 14th right at the death, tyres absolutely ruined, and on the final lap, or on our final lap, lit up the rears in the penultimate corner, lost the rear, span the car, and in trying to spin it back round, took out Esteban Gutierrez, got a 20-second time penalty, finished last. And I don't think that race was deserving of a last place finish, but these things do sometimes happen, and with these fragile 2013 tyres, of course they do. As you can see now, we are just one place behind Daniel Ricciardo. He beat us to make the teammate challenge 3-2. So it's winner takes all here, quite possibly. Winner takes all if I win. Otherwise, Ricciardo levels it and we go to Brazil, fighting for the teammate challenge. Or the rival challenge. The teammate challenge, we're pretty much done. We need to out-qualify Bianchi here, and it's ours. We've out-raced him in all but 3 races this season. We have outpaced him in all but 2 rounds this season, and we have a point, and he doesn't. So we could at least beat our teammate and finish the season strong. For Ricciardo, the rival challenge, that could also be decided here, although it would be nice to also beat him on points. But let's take a look at the standings before we talk about the United States Grand Prix. The big news was at the top, so we'll start there. Lewis Hamilton is 57 points back, with 50 on the table after an engine issue in Abu Dhabi restricted him to 9th. Means he will not be defending his 2012 crown. Sebastian Vettel leads Fernando Alonso by 27 points, so a victory here would seal the championship for Vettel, and he would be back on top of the world once again after missing out in 2010 to his teammate, missing out in 2012 to Lewis Hamilton, and only beating Webber in 2011 on countback. So he will be looking to end this era of Formula One on a high in that Red Bull. Rosberg is 4th, ahead of Felipe Massa, Mark Webber, Sergio Perez, Button, Raikkonen and Grosjean. They round out the top 10. Hulk is 11th, 5 points behind Grosjean. They've been battling over 10th for most of this season. Di Resta moved into double figures in 12th, ahead of Adrian Sutil. Gutierrez is 14th, and it's Maldonado, who beat Daniel Ricciardo, which pushes him to 16th. We're 17th, the last of the point scorers, ahead of Verne, Bottas, Bianchi, Peak and Van der Garde. And in the constructors, it is just a 9-point gap between Red Bull and Mercedes, but Red Bull took the lead after Abu Dhabi. Ferrari is still in the fight there as well, just 16 back. McLaren pretty much solidifying 4th. They've got a nice comfort zone over Lotus. Sauber on their own in 6th, as they've been for most of the season. Force India are 7th, and probably safe there as well. Williams, Toro Rosso, and us, the last of the point scorers, that Williams and Toro Rosso are just a point ahead of us. A 9th place would catapult us above them, and Caterham last with no points. And we head to the Circuit of the Americas for the second run-in of the United States Grand Prix in Texas. A circuit that didn't do us too many favours last season, I don't think. It wasn't the best of races in Texas. Let's have a look. Yeah, 17th in the race, and 23rd place qualifying. So we haven't really got a great baseline to work from. But this car has felt a little bit faster in the last few rounds. We've got some improvements that seem to be working quite nicely, so I'm kind of hoping that we can have a decent qualifying. Haven't got out of Q1 once this season, and I don't anticipate it's going to change in Austin. But we have looked a little bit closer to the tail end of the midfield. So that's something. And as I say, qualify Jules Bianchi here. Teammate challenge is ours. Beat Daniel Ricciardo in the race. While we might not beat him for points this season, we will have at least beaten him either 5-2 or 4-2, depending on how the last two races go. But it's 3-2 in race results since taking on that rival challenge, and I'd like to finish it off here. So we better get out, see how we fare in 2013 Texas. And as we do, we'll talk about the real world 2013 United States Grand Prix. The Circuit of the Americas hosted its second Grand Prix as the penultimate round of the 2013 season, with reigning champion Sebastian Vettel aiming to break the record for most consecutive wins after a dominant display in the previous round at Abu Dhabi. Prior to this race, Kimi Räikkönen announced that he would be missing the final two rounds of the season to undergo back surgery after experiencing discomfort. Lotus brought in their reserve driver and fellow Finn Heikki Kovalainen to deputise. First practice was a heavily disrupted affair due to thick fog, meaning the medical helicopter wasn't able to take off. The session was delayed for 40 minutes before any running could begin, though it was short-lived after another issue was discovered with the same medical helicopter. The session was eventually restarted 2 minutes before its designated finish, so it was extended a further 30 minutes. Alonso would lead the times ahead of Button and Bottas after a frantic scramble at the end. The second practice was a more normal affair, Vettel leading the times ahead of Webber and Rosberg, though many drivers were struggling to find grip on a circuit that hadn't been as rubbered in because of the issues from the first session. Red Bull would continue their form into the final practice session, Vettel once again leading Webber, with Hamilton taking third. Qualifying started with the usual suspects on the final two rows of the grid, with Caterham and Marussia being joined by Maldonado and Sutil in the drop zone, though many drivers were complaining about being impeded during their laps. The second session saw Massa's Ferrari drop out, which was no great surprise after struggling for pace so far in the weekend, but he was joined by Nico Rosberg, the German seemingly unable to master the handling of his W04. Bottas would make it into Q3 in his Williams, leaving Ricciardo, Di Resta, Button and Verne to join Massa and Rosberg. The battle for pole looked to be between the Red Bulls, and so it proved to be, Vettel getting the upper hand on Webber to take yet another pole position. Grosjean would take third place, ahead of Nico Hülkenberg, the German once again impressive in his Sauber. That relegated Hamilton and Alonso to 5th and 6th, ahead of Perez, while Kovalainen took 8th and Bottas 9th, both securing strong results ahead of the other Sauber of Esteban Gutierrez. Vettel led away into turn 1, but the drivers on the dirty side of the track found themselves ceding positions, Webber losing out to Grosjean, Alonso losing out to Perez and Kovalainen, who'd taken a cautious approach, dropping out at the points. As the opening lap progressed, Maldonado and Sutil made contact, spearing the Sauber into the barriers and leading to an early safety car. Vettel would scamper away at the restart, leaving Grosjean to defend from Hamilton and Webber, though the Mercedes would spend most of his time preoccupied with preserving his tyres to try and make a one-stop work, leaving him vulnerable to Webber behind him. The rest of the race became an exercise in tyre saving for most of the field, drivers stretching out their stints in order to make a one-stop work. Webber would remain in front of Hamilton after the stops and zone in on Grosjean, but would find that he was unable to pass the Frenchman in the Lotus.
The rain's going to ease up a bit in around 5 minutes.
Vettel would once again be untroubled at the front, taking his 8th consecutive victory, breaking a 60-year-old record in the process. Grosjean would hold on to second place, ahead of Webber, while Hamilton would finish just ahead of Alonso and Hülkenberg. Perez would finish 7th, ahead of Bottas, who'd take points for Williams, while Rosberg and Button would take the final points-paying positions inside the top 10. will we fare then in Texas? This is a track that doesn't really suit our little Marussia, high speed and high deg, but we've managed to pull time out of the bag when we've needed it so far this season. I think that we can push for an 18th place here, maybe beating out one of the more established cars in the process, and try and give ourselves a good springboard to close off our rivalry with Daniel Ricciardo before we get into a final race showdown in Brazil.
It won't be easy getting out of this qualifying session, but see what you can do.
In the garage then for qualifying at the Circuit of the Americas, practice was a bit of a write-off. We went out when it was at its absolute worst rain, so we didn't really get any representative running on the board. Still didn't finish last though, which is something, I guess. Finally getting a bit more of a realistic piece of speech out of our engineer after the over-optimistic, over-ambitious, kind of should be easy to get at Q1. We've not done it once this season. The closest we've come, I think, was 18th. So I can't imagine it's going to be much better here. But the car felt all right, even in wet conditions. So that's something we need to get out there fast. See if we can magic up some luck in Texas.
You're a little off the pace in all sectors.
Let's take a look at our best lap of the session. Took a few laps to get going, but as you can see, we're already ahead of at least Maldonado, and not too far behind Bottas and Raikkonen as we take turn one quite nicely. Get a little bit wide, which does compromise our traction a little bit, but easily down the hill into turn two and then into these fast sweepers based on Maggots and Beckett's. Using the curbs as much as we can, and we're 2.5 tenths up on our best time and 2 tenths up on Bottas. Things looking good at the end of the first sector, but it's the second sector where the power really kicks in. Again, jumping across the curbs, possible NASCAR lines, but still within track limits, at least according to this. As we head to the hairpin at the top of the back straight, take a couple of bites of the cherry getting the car turned in. Doesn't seem to matter too much, and then it's really just a long wait on the power. Don't want to dump all of our curves to try and use it as an aid to traction later on in the lap. But as we're getting down to the top end of the straight, you can see we've got our absolutely maximum attack. Get on the brakes, but ever so slightly on the curb as we do, which unsettles us, but doesn't make it too difficult. We're nearly 2 tenths up on our best time and marginally up on Bottas and Raikkonen, but the rear end slips out as we go in that long right. That's going to cost us just a little bit of time as we use the camber in that left-hander to try and swing the car. Seems to work, and then we're into the long right-hander. You can hear the car really struggling to keep its pace up as we get through it. Then we've got to try to avoid going too wide at the penultimate corner, which we managed to, and then it's into Andretti, the final corner. Again, getting a little bit crossed up, braking on the curbs, on the power. We improve, but it's still not enough to get us through.
As expected, 18th on the grid tomorrow. Nice driving.
Out in Q1, but by less than 2 tenths of a second. Don't think I quite had enough any more time in me to jump the surprise that is Kimi Raikkonen and Valtteri Bottas, who just about makes it through. Maldonado, Pique, Bianchi and Van der Garde also find themselves out in Q1 with us, but really, really strong qualifying here in Texas. Just, I don't know, just seemed to be able to hook up a lap. And as I say, I don't know if I had another couple of tenths in me, but if we had, we might have even squeezed into Q2, which really would have been something right at the death of the season. But it's a good vantage point, or a good starting point, good springboard for us in this race. And with Kimi Raikkonen next to us as well, we might be able to use the Lotus as a bit of a battering ram for pace to try and follow him through. But we're going to have to cross to the race to see how that works out for us. You join us in the garage for the United States Grand Prix of 2013, and its 18th place on the grid, our joint highest grid position of the season, in a surprisingly pacey car around here, at least, just a 2 tenths of a second off making it into Q2 for the first time this season at the penultimate round. That would have been something. But let's take a look at the grid order before we start talking about what we're hoping for here in Texas. Fernando Alonso took pole position ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Rosberg's in third, Vettel down in fourth. So this is a possible opportunity for Fernando Alonso to swing the pendulum back towards him in the title hunt before Brazil. Webber's in fifth, Perez sixth, then it's Button, Massa, Hulkenberg in the top 10 ahead of Grosjean. Ricciardo all the way up in 11th in the Toro Rosso, really good result for him. Paul di Resta's in 12th ahead of Verne, Sutil, Gutierrez and Bottas, and then Raikkonen dropped out in Q1 with us, Maldonado, Pique, Bianchi and Van der Garde. And as I said right at the top, only one race in Texas so far in this series, and that was last year. Qualifying was a bit of a dud and the race wasn't much better, to be honest, but we, like I say, we feel like we've got pace here. We looked pretty quick in qualifying. Sure, 3 odd seconds off the front runners, but quick in terms of the guys around us, the likes of Bottas, Maldonado, Verne, that kind of thing. We were in and amongst them, just the 2 tenths away from knocking Bottas out and taking our place in Q2. Race-wise, that hasn't always translated when we've had a decent qualifying, and we come into this one not long after the mess that was Abu Dhabi, at least the mess at the end that was Abu Dhabi, which kind of tempers my hope a little bit, because I feel like this is going to be a place that's going to be fairly tough on tyres, and one that we're going to have to really push to try and fight in. We've got that part of the track that's inspired by the likes of Maggots and Beckett's, the big sweeping S's. We've got the long back straight and the long run up to turn 1. When, post lap 1, I mean, even first lap, it's a long run up, a very tight corner, uphill. And we've seen in the real world plenty of instances there over the years, recording this the day after the United States Grand Prix. So 2 days after the sprint of 2025, and we know what happened there, if you're a McLaren fan. So there's always the possibility that our race could be dealt a massive blow right at the start. I'm going to aim conservative. We've out-qualified Bianchi, so the teammate challenge falls to us. We're at least 10-8 up with 1 round left in qualifying, so he can't beat us in anything other than beating us for points or podiums if he goes on and somehow claims a third. We can seal off the teammate challenge as well as the rival challenge. Already sealed off the teammate challenge. We can seal off the rival challenge here as well by beating Ricciardo, who's all the way up in 11th. I want to aim for midfield, let's say 15th spot. I think it is doable. It was doable in Abu Dhabi until the very last lap. So hopefully we can ride the pain on the tyres here. But it's all going to be about getting through the first few corners safely, I think. So let's head to the grid for the 2013 United States Grand Prix. Alonso, Hamilton front row, Vettel in behind them. Ricciardo all the way up in 11th. There we are, 18th. Bianchi down on the back row. We've got Lotus next to us. Ricciardo way up in the distance there in 11th. Engineer Andy not giving us a pep talk after what happened last time out, but the 5th red light is on and it is out and away we go in Texas. Starts have definitely got better near the tail end of the season. We almost draw alongside Kimi Raikkonen. We brake early, we dive to the inside. Take the extreme inside. Ricciardo's in the top 10. He's got Webber next to him, who then gets blocked out. There's a Mercedes sideways. Ricciardo's been caught. We're up into 10th now. I don't know what Mercedes it was. Probably Rosberg. Verne's up in 11th. Ricciardo's gone backwards. Did we lose anyone? Surely we lost somebody out of that. It does look like, though, it says 22 still on the road. Not entirely sure how, as we send one up the inside of Mark Webber in his penultimate Grand Prix, and we get past him. We're into the top 10, we're 9th. Verne's gone past Webber. We've got a Red Bull and a Mercedes somewhere behind us. I don't think Ricciardo got damaged, but he did go backwards. Saw the smoke and a Mercedes spinning on his axis. Yellow flag out again. More contact behind maybe. It looks like Webber's gone backwards. Or at least fallen behind a Force India. It's still 22 in this race as we cross the line. Ricciardo is last of them. I think he's had an incident. Or another one over the course of that. Maybe that's what the yellow flag was about. Is anyone heading in at the end of lap 1? Doesn't look like it, but Ricciardo is way off the back of the field. No idea how we avoided all of the carnage there. The second race running, we find ourselves inside the top 10. It's a real test of how this race is going to go as DRS is active. Much like Abu Dhabi, just going to have to get on the curves and try and defend Verne though. Not the fastest in a straight line, can get up alongside but not close enough to make the move. Verne actually pulling away from the rest of the group that were aimed in us. Includes Webber and Rosberg, right? They're all busy fighting each other.
The car behind is only a second down on you. 1 second.
Helpful for us means we can just give ourselves a little bit of a buffer. I think we've got at least one Lotus, one Red Bull and one Mercedes in the field behind us. Obviously Raikkonen started down next to us on the grid. And on the outside early doors. Webber got booted down through all the bumping and barging at the start, and Rosberg obviously, as we know, was facing the wrong way. Though might be about to be under pressure from the Red Bull of Mark Webber. There he is.
The car behind is on standard reds. Car behind is running standard reds.
Russia versus the Red Bull family here. Both Toro Rosso and Red Bull behind us. All of our cars just get a little boost over the rise. Verne looks one way, Webber's going to look the other. Side to side, Verne's going to hold off the Australian. It's bad news for Williams. Valtteri Bottas, the man that's out. Rosberg's staying in 15th. I think he's now in this train behind us, which is closing all of a sudden. All of them, that is, as well, not just Verne and Webber. We had kind of darted away from the little crew as Webber now moves into P10. Starting to struggle on these tyres. Run wide out of the penultimate corner. Webber's going to dive past us.
You should consider coming into the pits and replacing your tyres.
I was considering going for an early stop, but Webber was in our way. We did manage to get back past him. Once again considered to the inside, went to the outside, and
our calculations estimate that the rest will be pitting within the next 5 minutes.
Oh, we've cost ourselves time. We're going to lose all of those spots. Silly mistake. We're going to need a new front wing. Everyone's going to stream past us. For the second race running, we make a silly mistake.
You're free to rejoin the track. The track is clear.
which is going to cost us big at the end of this. Do we now, though,
Car's
have
got
the
a new
pace?
set of prime tyres on. You only have to stop once now. One stop left.
Cruise back up to these guys because we were holding them off fairly comfortably. A couple of NASCAR lines there, that's fair enough.
You're on the
Tyres
slow tyre, but
right
you're
behind
maintaining the gap on the
Maldonado.
car ahead, so we're very happy. This is good.
At least out ahead of Charles Peak, but
Okay, you have to pass him. You have to pass him.
nearly into the back of Maldonado in the Williams. Should get DRS on the Venezuelan, and we will. Is it going to be enough to pull us into diving distance? It will. We give him enough space. We go around the outside. Jean-Eric Verne. We are right with these guys. We do actually have a decent amount of pace round here, as it turns out. Ricardo's at the front of this queue. He's going to be peeling into the pits. Bianchi's up there as well. They're all busy fighting with each other. Verne's been held up there, I think, by Van der Gaard heading into the pits, and we wildly swing around the outside of him. Back up to P15. Rosberg is in front of us. He's fighting with Kimi Räikkönen, who gets passed into turn 1. We've lost points here, though. Nico Hülkenberg in the Sauber finds himself out of the United States Grand Prix. Which pulls us up another spot. I hadn't had Webber at my inside the lap before I was due to pit. I think I would have dived in then, taken the early pit stop, and then driven like a madman on my outlap to try and jump back in front of everybody, which might have happened.
We've run the figures and think that the rest will be pitting for a new set of tyres soon, probably within the next 3 laps.
Out the final corner, which will give Maldonado a bit of a run. He had actually, I think, broken DRS on Maldonado. As Ricciardo now joins the back of this little tussle. Maldonado, Verne, Ricciardo behind us. And a little ways further off. Right, let's put it into the pit wall entrance this time. A little bit smoother on entry. Ricciardo does indeed follow us in.
On the way out.
Ricciardo has jumped us though, as has Maldonado.
Watch out for traffic as you rejoin the track.
So we've got to try and get past Ricciardo on track. There's the issues with pit stops in the last race as well, where we lost positions. It's just up exactly the same here at COTA. Maldonado though on the last stop will hopefully be close enough to go for a dive with DRS as we nearly go into the back of the Toro Rosso. We are closing. Is it going to be enough? It's not going to be enough. We will at least try and spook him.
Excellent work. Try to keep this pace. This is what we need right now.
How have I lost time in that second start. But just being gentle on the way in. So we avoided more wall.
Blue flag conditions. Let the car immediately behind through. You're not racing him.
Here comes Lewis Hamilton. We can at least get out of the way at the start-finish straight. The Mercedes should have enough to breeze past without me having to back off too much. As I can see Ricciardo looking for a move on Maldonado up into turn 1. Doesn't make it, fortunately for us. Ricciardo goes past Maldonado and then Hamilton catches Maldonado in the next sector of the lap. This is right in with Williams, but Ricciardo's scuttling away. Get DRS down the back straight on Maldonado though. I think Lewis tapped the back of Maldonado. Say tap, it's more like a punt. Lewis might catch Ricciardo down towards the end of the straight. Maldonado goes defensive.
You're within 1 second of the car ahead. Get ready to use DRS to overtake.
Sweep around the outside of the Williams. There's Ricciardo. Oh, he's still got Hamilton behind him. Still got Hamilton behind him. He runs off track and we get back in front of the Australian. Back into P14. Maldonado got past him as well. Thank you, Hamilton. Pushed as hard as we could to try and catch back up to those two. Worked out for us in the end. Ricciardo's actually fallen behind Verne. Oh, and there's debris up into turn 1. 9 odd seconds, 10 seconds behind Raikkonen. I wonder if he's had an issue. Grosjean has slipped to 13th. I think he's maybe pitted. Maybe the debris at turn 1 was him. Maldonado's dropped off, so I think we're getting lapped again by whoever's in second. Looks to be, oh, it's a Red Bull and a Ferrari, so Verne has jumped Maldonado as well. And it looks like Vettel and Alonso battling. I think that will actually mean that Vettel is the champion, because Fernando's not gaining any points on him.
You need to let the car behind you past. He's not racing you
Got
for
Kerr's
position.
problems now, which is the last thing we want when we're trying to defend.
We have a problem with Kerr's. Problem with Kerr's.
Let Vettel through. Might get DRS off the Red Bull, which would be good. Alonso now behind us as well. Should be quick enough to just beat us for pace. We do get DRS. And Sebastian Vettel, we're well out of Alonso's way. We have to back off a little bit
Back up to speed. Wave
to let the
blue
Ferrari
conditions
through.
No longer apply.
It's feeling very much like the tail end of Abu Dhabi all over again.
You have a
Defending
1
for our
second
lives,
lead
you
over
can
the
feel
car
the tyres
behind.
going
Beware.
off. Defending for our lives for a spot that is outside the points, but we're heading towards our final lap. It's a Williams and 2 Toro Rossos behind us. We've got no Kerrs, which is going to be tough. At least have enough fuel to put it into Rich. But that's all we've got to defend as we start our final lap. Sebastian Vettel on the cusp of world title number 2 in Blue Flag Bandits after 2011. Alonso will once again agonisingly miss out. he did in 2012. We get the hairpin onto the back straight wrong. Basically come to a complete stop. No curves. Vern's got DRS. We'll just keep forcing him to the one side. Maldonado's going to try the other. We break later. Side our way back between the Williams and the Toro Rosso as they run side by side out the hairpin. That mistake on the pit entry at our first stop, going in too hot on very warm tyres. I don't know if it cost us points. We got jumped in the pit stops after as well, and our pace has diminished as the race has gone on. Lewis Hamilton takes the victory in COTA. I think Alonso might have actually just got at the inside of Sebastian Vettel. We'll find out in just a moment, but we'll cross line P14. Fourteenth place then, ahead of Vern, Maldonado, Ricciardo, Bianchi, Van der Garde, Peak. Hulkenberg and Bottas don't finish, but we beat Daniel Ricciardo on the road, which means it's 4-2 going into the final round in terms of race results since the rivalry started, even if he is still a point ahead of us at the top end of things. Hamilton took the win. Alonso dived up the inside, gained 3 points on Sebastian Vettel, who finishes third, which I think means the title fight goes to Brazil. Massa's fourth ahead of Perez, Button, Webber down in seventh, but on the comeback same with Rosberg, who finished eighth after his spin at the start. De Resta ninth, Gutierrez 10th, Sutil finishes 11th ahead of Raikkonen and Grosjean, and then there we are. P14. What does that do to the standings then? It is a 24-point gap with 25 left available. Mathematically, Fernando Alonso is still in this title hunt. He needs Vettel to DNF and to take the win in Brazil, though, to take the title. Hamilton out of it in third, but gets the win. Rosberg comfortably fourth, Massa's fifth, probably comfortably ahead of Webber, who's sixth, who's comfortably ahead of Perez in seventh. Then there's a little bit of a battle going on for that seventh place with his teammate Button. Raikkonen is ninth ahead of Grosjean, who's still only 5 points ahead of Hulkenberg. De Resta's 12th ahead of Sutil, Gutierrez, Maldonado and Ricciardo. There we are, still 17th. Still the last of the point scorers ahead of Vern, Bottas, Bianchi, Peak and Van der Garde. And in the constructors, Red Bull lead by 1 point from Mercedes. Ferrari are 7 points back. It's a three-way fight for the constructors going into Brazil, so that's going to be fun to see who comes out on top there. McLaren comfortably in P4. They have beaten Lotus to that position, who are fifth and comfortable. Sauber are sixth and comfortable. Force India are seventh and comfortable. Williams, Toro Rosso and ourselves could still all switch positions with results in Brazil, and it's the same with Caterham, who are down last but with no points. And another race, I think, that could have gone, well, points I think may have gone begging. I think we've done that twice in the last couple of rounds. Silly mistakes in both of them, really. I mean, Abu Dhabi was a silly mistake after we'd definitely lost the opportunity for points, but here we might have been able to just stay in front of a few people. It looked like we had decent pace early doors to fight for a good result, but P14 is pretty decent in the end, and at least we saw out Daniel Ricciardo and Jules Bianchi, so that means that both of those should fall in our favour in terms of results, even if the championship won't fall in our favour with Ricciardo, unless we get a good result in our final round in Brazil. Hopefully you'll join me for that one. Thank you so much for watching. Like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the good stuff. You know the drill. We shall see you for one last time in 2013. Take care. Bye for now.